Hello, amazing trailblazers. I am so excited to be here with you for this free training. Today, we are actually talking about the 5 game changers in your journey to authentic living. So, hello, for those of you who are new to me, my name is Leanne Jameson, and I have been teaching people how to find their journey back to themselves, guiding them on the journey back to themselves for over 15 years. My passion, my mission in life has always been about individuals finding and embracing their authentic self so they can live the life that they were meant to live, filled with abundance and joy, purpose, especially. So, join me today in learning about what it means to live authentically. I know that this is like typically a buzz term of like, oh, authentic living, but it's such an important aspect of our journey into our purpose, into our bigger mission on this planet at this time. You guys are probably here because you feel like you're out of alignment. Something's missing in your life. This can often lead to a lot of depression or feelings of overwhelm. So, when we actually align what our biggest mission and purpose is in life to what we're doing, right? We're aligning our mind, our body, and our spirit to really move towards this purpose, to live a life filled with purpose, to live a life filled with abundance and connection. So, that's what we're going to be talking about here. And like I said, I have been doing this for over 15 years as a licensed psychotherapist, as a women's empowerment coach. And I am so excited to share my knowledge, my wisdom, and my experience, right? This has been a personal experience. This has been a professional experience for me to be able to be here with you to guide you on this journey. So, I'm so excited that we're here together. So drop a hi in the comments. Let me know that you're here. Also, what is something that you're hoping to get out of this training? Put it in the comments so I know I can cover it. If you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay so I can reach out to you and make sure that you are getting exactly what you have come here for, which is often more clarity, inspiration, hope, and a roadmap back to yourself, a roadmap that creates that clarity of that direction and of that life purpose, that mission for you. So we are going to be diving into a lot of key aspects here of authentic living. Let me just give you, because as a licensed psychotherapist, of course, I have learned a lot of my tips and tricks and tools from the other psychologists and psychotherapists. Also being, an energetic healer, we have that aspect as well, because we know that our spirit is not completely aligned. So I'm going to go into where did authentic living come from? Like, where did this concept come from? But also the steps that you are going to take to be able to align. And I already identified, like, how do you even know that you're out of alignment? Again, it's a lot of times feeling of overwhelm, feeling of anxiety. It could also show up as depression. It could show up as like confusion, doubt, self-doubt, frustration. Oh, so many different ways, right? We're talking about lots of low level energies. So that's how it shows up, just so you know, right? Some of the different elements to look for. So now that we have those elements to look for, what does it mean to live authentically? What does that mean to you? But more so, I'm going to give you sort of the framework and the definition of authentic living. And again, where it sort of came from. And looking at the key aspects, right? We're going to be diving into the key aspects of self-aware of authentic living, and then really those game changers that, again, I know I've experienced, and this is what I teach all of my clients, my coaching clients, who are looking for that, like creating the legacy that they were meant to live, right? Creating that clarity of what is that next step, because they feel the gap. They feel like there is something missing in their life. So I will let you in on some of those awarenesses and tips to help you and guide you in this process. So when we're talking about authentic living, what does it mean to you? Put it in the comments. Let me know, where are you at? When you hear the term authentic living, what does it bring up in you? Whether it's a feeling, whether it's a thought, put it in the comments. Right? What does it mean to live authentically? What does it mean, for you to find your authentic self and to live authentically? So as you have your own concepts, again, it's just about being aware and gaining more clarity of like, well, what do I even think of it? What does it feel like? Right? That's that energy, because we are energetic beings. What does it feel like to live authentically? Put it in the comments. What do you think about when you think about living authentically? So what it does, the basic framework concept of it is that it involves living in a way that aligns with your innermost feelings and convictions, right? Your innermost feelings, convictions, your belief systems, rather than what we have been doing for so long, is that we are conforming to external expectations, societal norms, familial norms, right? And a lot of times, some of these resonate with us, but sometimes they don't, right? These societal norms and the familial norms, there's a clash, there's this dissonance within us, this disconnect. And that's where we know this is our sign, our cue, our signal that we are not living authentically. So what we look at is like peeling back those pieces to find out what your beliefs are and what is important to you and what do you value, and then aligning, like I said, mind, body, and spirit to align with all of that, so you're leading in this direction. And that actually creates more flow, it creates more joy in your life, more abundance, and more connection, right? Not to mention that clarity of purpose. So what it means to live authentically, it's very like a very broad psychological and philosophical concept, and it's really been explored and discussed by a lot of different thinkers before us, right, and practitioners over time. The idea of the authentic self is actually most closely related to existentialism or humanistic psychology. Carl Jung is a big one that really talks about the shadow self and like the integration of all these different selves. Of course, Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers, right? All talking about like these hierarchy of needs, but also this self-actualization and self-awareness. And that's what we talk about like when we're looking at authentic living. So that's this framework that I come from of like what it means to live authentically. So with that, there are really, I want to identify 5 key aspects to authentic living. So this is what is going to help you. These are sort of like the stopping points, or like I always think maybe pillars or steps into authentic living, right? If you're just starting this journey, and maybe you've had this awareness and then you feel stuck and stagnant again, right? I have worked with so many women who are just like, I've accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish. Like I really did. They took a lot of courageous actions to live out their most authentic life and leave jobs that weren't aligning with them and start their own businesses, and right. And they've done all of this work, and then we can get stuck and stagnant again, because it's like there's something more, and we know that there's something more. So those are the type of women that I work with as well. So, but either way, right, regardless of where you are in those different, like they could be a different aspect, but it's still the same concept, right? Or the same steps to, okay, let's come back to the first key aspect of authentic living. This is the baseline of it, right? It's like, this is where we start, regardless of what experience you're having, whether you're just starting off or you found it and then you lost it again, right? The first is self-awareness. So that's the first key aspect. Really understanding your own values, your own beliefs, your own passions. This is like essential to authentic living, right? Is to recreate and get curious about like, what beliefs do I hold, right? What values do I hold? Were those the ones that were taught to me by my family or by, my cultural like society? And do they align with how I truly believe or think? Right? And being able to recognize and just get curious. You will be doing this, my 2 favorite words, and not just words, but actions. These are actions. When we go through the self-awareness and aligning with our authentic self, it is with compassion and curiosity. We stay curious to everything, and we are very kind as we move through this whole this whole journey. And that's what's really going to help us to identify even quicker, where we are as far as like our alignment with our authentic self. So self-awareness is the first key aspect of authentic living, right? So what is it that you believe, and does it align with you? Does it still align with you? Because as we grow and as we learn more, right, we are continuous learners, hopefully, right? It's important to revisit our values and say, are these still true to me? So self-awareness. The second key aspect of authentic living is honesty. And I'm not necessarily talking about honesty with others, although that's a core part of it too. But the first thing is that we have to be honest with ourselves, right? We have to be honest with the difficulties that come up of like, oh my gosh, this value that my family has held on to for so long doesn't actually align with me. And sometimes that can be really scary, because how is our family going to accept us, or are they going to accept us, or is this going to cause rifts in my life or in their lives, or like in the relationship, right? So really being honest, because what we do is often like just, to hide them, like if they don't align with the larger societal norm, familial norm, because especially as women, we thrive in community. We really, there's a lot of emphasis placed on community for us, just intrinsically through the years. And there's so many studies that show this on a genetic, on a societal level. So being able to really be honest with yourself and then be honest with somebody else, right? This really allows us that path into aligning our behaviors and what we say with our internal values, not pretending to be someone you're not, right? We're not hiding our true feelings. We're not hiding our true thoughts. When we agree with somebody, we agree with them. When we don't, we can say, this doesn't align with me. This doesn't feel right, right? So it's that honesty is the second key aspect to authentic living. The third is really embracing individuality. Now, yes, we are a collective and we need community, and we are an individual. Authenticity encourages you to celebrate your uniqueness rather than trying to fit in where you're not meant to. And so often, this is what we're trying to do. You'll hear all the cliche terms, right? I'm a square peg trying to fit into a round hole, right? And and then we get like shaved off, and then we're raw, and then we're depressed, and like we're feeling lost, and parts are missing of us. So it's being able to fully embrace yourself. And this is where Carl Jung comes in. A lot of times we hide our shadow self or the things that we're ashamed of, where it's about embracing this, right? We're not trying to fit in. And actually, what's beautiful about this, and I actually have a blog article. If you want it, just put blog article in the comments here, and I'll make sure to get it over to you. But I have a blog article that talks about the power of standing out to fit in, right? When we stand out, when we allow ourselves to really embrace that individuality and speak to that and stand in that, that's when we find our people, right? Or our people find us. The fourth key aspect of authentic living is really making those choices that are aligned with your values day in and day out, over and over and over. We are making choices every single day and decisions that are continuously aligning with our values. We have to, again, that's why it's so important for that self-awareness of just what are my values, those core values and principles, because those are our home base, right? That's what I think about, right? When my kids are running around, I'm often home base when they're like playing tag or something, right? So that's your home base, that's your North Star, however you want to identify it, those values. That's what you're always coming back to, and making sure, like when our behaviors don't align with what we say we value or what we really truly value, there's that disconnect. There is discomfort. There can be depression, frustration, inner critic, right? All that comes out. So even if they go against the grain or they're challenging, making sure that you are aligning with those every day. And then the fifth key aspect of authentic living is, Brene Brown would love this one, right? And I know she speaks on it, the vulnerability factor, right? Vulnerability. Being authentic may require vulnerability. And I want to take out the may, and it is going to, right? Authentic living requires vulnerability, right? It involves showing your true self, even at the cost or the fear of people not accepting you or questioning you or not aligning with you and maybe falling away, right? It includes those fears. It includes the insecurities, vulnerability. When we allow this, again, it's sort of like that standing out to fit in. When we allow our vulnerability, our people will find us and we will find our people, and it creates deeper connections with others. It's not surface level. This is where a big shift is coming in to this year, into this decade, right? This next decade, the next couple of years, is that people are just yearning for deeper connections. So that vulnerability factor is part of, that key aspect to authentic living. So which one is more difficult for you? Are there, what's your number one that's like, oh my gosh, that I'm not really sure about? It could be like embracing your individuality because of the fear of being rejected. It could be the vulnerability, right? It could be, I don't even know what my values are. So put it in the comments. Is it self-awareness? Which one of these key aspects of authentic living maybe you find the most difficult? Or maybe which is the one and which is the one that you find easier? Maybe you know your values, but sometimes you have a hard time expressing them, right? So put it in the comments. Which aspect is more difficult for you and which one is easier for you? Is it self-awareness, honesty, embracing individuality, making choices aligned with your values, or vulnerability? So I'd love to hear from you. Put it in the comments. I know at different stages, these all hit, right? But this is what we practice every day, and stepping into that. I was having a conversation with one of my sisters. I'm the oldest of 5. And we were like, oh, we should do this, but let's not tell this person because they'll be really hurt by it. I'm like, but and the more we talked about it, right, it was this that didn't align with my values. I'm like, I really value honesty. I really value the giving a person the ability to hear something from me that maybe they're not going to be happy about, and feel it and move through it, rather than lying and covering it up, because that's an old pattern for me, right? That's something that I've learned of like, well, we're going to do this, but we're not going to tell so-and-so, right? Because we don't want to hurt their feelings. What we really don't want to do is have the difficult conversation, right? So anyways, we decided, okay, we're going to talk about it. We're going to actually express like, this is what we're doing, and let them be hurt or however they feel, and just let them be and be present for it, right? So just a little bit of like an example of how we align every day, and the difficulty that sometimes it comes because we think about hurting somebody, but what would hurt even more, right? Let's give them the opportunity to feel their feels, and for us to feel our feels too when we're going through this process. So what you've been waiting for are the game changers to your path, right? In your journey to authentic living. What are the things that totally changed the game for me, right? And these are mindset shifts, but there are definitely actions that go along with them. So I'm going to identify the game changers that I had to stop doing, and then the game changers that I had to start doing. Now, I didn't have to, but I chose to. Let's change that word, right? Words matter. So the 5 game changers that I chose to stop doing and embracing and repeating these patterns so that I could live authentically and I could live in more joy and flow and connection. And then those beliefs and habits to start. Because when we take something away, we implement something new. Okay. That's just the way that we work as human beings. So being able to look at, what do I need to stop, right? So 5 game changers that I stopped on my journey to becoming more authentically me, that authentic living. So the first thing was to stop the excuses. So I want you to put that in the comments. Stop the excuses. Stop the excuses. This is so important because we can come up with so many believable reasons of why we shouldn't. Just like I was in that conversation with my sister, right? Well, we shouldn't do this because she's going to be hurt, and then we're going to have to deal with all of that. And like, wait a minute. No, that's an excuse. All right. Another thing, right? If the gym is important to you, stop making excuses of why it's, you can't fit it in. You can fit in a whole bunch of things. It's just that we're not prioritizing it. So really looking at, and that goes right back up to, is this truly a value for me at this time? And not judging it, just being curious and compassionate with it, right? So if it isn't, then it isn't. And maybe it will be in the future. But, if it is, then you have to stop the excuses of not aligning with it, of not following it through, because that actually creates even more dissonance within. It creates more shame within us. So that's a big one, is to stop the excuses. So the second is to stop allowing fear to drive the bus. Right. And again, that's why I gave you the example of me and my sister is, when we allow fear to drive the bus, we do not align with our values, especially now it's easy when it like aligns with, societal norms and our familial norms. But when it goes against it, that's when it's hard. Right. And we allow fear to get in the way of us speaking up, which again creates more depression or anxiety for us, more frustration. Right. And we know when we're not being true. We feel it in our body, we feel it through our soul. So really being able to align what we're doing, our mind, our body, our soul, our mind, like how we're believing, our body, like actually doing it and feeling into it and the energy around it. And our soul is with that too, our spirit, our values. So that's the second one. Stop allowing fear to drive the bus. How do I know when fear is driving the bus? Right? When you're not aligning with your values. I often say too, right? When we're looking at our behaviors to a situation and the behaviors does not equal like what is actually happening, that's an indicator that, first of all, it's probably something way in your past that is impacting you, a different experience that you've had that's bringing up similar emotions. And that's why you're reacting so strongly, or you've created this whole story in your head about what this means. But really that looks like, fear is driving the bus. I'm afraid. So I deflect, I do all these things. So when you're not doing something because you're afraid of how it's going to impact you or how it's going to impact others, and not really staying curious about it. It's like, oh, I can't do that. And then you just like, let it be. That's when you're allowing fear to drive the bus. You're not even getting curious about it of like, well, what is this fear about? And like, is this really true? Right. So stop allowing fear to drive the bus. There were so many things that I was afraid of when I was starting my own business. Am I going to fail? Am I going to be judged? How is my family going to respond to me? This is just me quitting a really, really good job that they see as a good job because it doesn't align with exactly what I want. I'm supposed to be doing something bigger, right? And I was so afraid. And for so long, I allowed fear to drive that bus. I was 10 years in and out of entrepreneurship, right? Dipping my toe in and backing up. So that's when fear is driving the bus, right? It's just like, oh, no, now is not the time. It may show up like that. Now is not the time. I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have this. I don't have that. All these things that we can create such plausible reasons for, right? So that goes back into the excuses. The third game changer is to stop people pleasing, right? In authentic living, we have to let go of the people pleasing. If you're anything like me, right? I grew up people pleasing. I grew up making sure everybody else was okay. I was the peacekeeper. I was, when I was a kid, that's what I learned. I learned to read the room. I learned to overachieve. I learned to make everything okay for a certain amount of time. I am also very rebellious as an Aries and all sorts of, you can look at astrological signs and all that stuff. But just who I am is like, I push back against that. I am that person that does not align with some of my familial values. But when I was little, right, it was very much maneuvering everybody else's emotions and making sure everybody else was okay so then I could feel okay. So that's something that is very learned, but we have to stop people pleasing if we are ever going to align with our authentic self. The fourth game changer is to stop playing small, right? Stopping ourselves into this bigness, into our biggest dreams, into these dreams that so many people have said, like, maybe that's crazy that you're going to do that. Actually makes me think of if anybody has seen Wonka, I saw that with my two boys, and like he was such a dreamer, right? And that's how I think about so many of us, is that we have these big dreams, we have these big visions, and there's so many people that question us. It's like, you're going to try to do what? You envision this why? And we've gotten, sometimes we can be pathologized, especially in my line of work, psychotherapist, growing up as a psychotherapist, right? In my professional life, it's like, oh, you're such a narcissist. You're so egotistical. You have such grandiose ideations, blah. Right? That's such pathology talk, where it's like, actually, this is what you're meant for. And there's a reason why you have these ideas and why you have this vision. But then we allow other people to keep us small, because we have been taught that we're, get your head out of the clouds, or, stop dreaming so big, or whatever it is. Right. I resonate with this. We're just too much of this, too much of that, but not enough of this, not enough of that. But anyway, so it's like, stop playing small and really embrace your dreams. Allow yourself to feel into that. Allow yourself to dream again, right? That was a huge game changer for me. The fifth game changer is to stop relying on external validation. Okay. This was a big one. This goes right along with people pleasing, right? Where it's just like, maybe, if I get to this point, I will finally be accepted and I'll seen as like adult enough, or responsible enough, or, successful enough. Right. So, but that all relied on the external validation of others. Right. I would do something and then I would look, right. Whether that was like truly looking like, oh, did I do good enough? But it was, I'm doing something for the approval of somebody else, instead of just aligning with that internal value of what I'm providing, right? And this is a big one for a lot of us who are high achievers, right? We're achieving, and this starts at such a young age. I think about my nephew, who at 2 years old, I remember him hitting this golf ball and looking back at me and my brother and being like, and we're like, oh yeah, good job. I'm like, oh my gosh. As soon as I did that, I was like, this is 2 years old. We actually start conditioning even younger, but like that I just took notice of that. That was like one of those pivotal moments when I was like playing into the conditioning. It's like, oh man. So again, for us to stop relying on external validation, we have to create the internal validation. So this is why I have chosen to put in the 5 beliefs and the habits to actually start. So we know what to stop. Which one do you want to work on first? Put it in the comments. Which one are you like, yes, I'm going to stop the excuses. Yes, I am going to stop playing small. Put it in the comments. Actually say, like, I'm going to stop my excuses. I'm going to stop playing small. I'm going to stop people pleasing. Like, you are declaring it. So I'm also going to have you declare what you're going to start. So here are 5 beliefs and habits to start. The first is to start keeping commitments to yourself. Right? When you are looking at something and it comes from such an authentic place of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to reach out to this big company tomorrow to pitch them my idea. And then you come up with all the different excuses of why that's a bad idea for right now, because I'm not ready. Start keeping those commitments to yourself. You will see a drastic change in your confidence and feeling that flow and the connection with self. So start keeping commitments to yourself. Put that in the comments. I'm going to start keeping commitments to yourself, to myself. So being able to really allow that space and that strong commitment. So many times, I want you to think about how many times you've canceled on other people, or, it's minimal. It's minimal to how many times we've canceled on ourselves, right? The second belief and habit to start is to live courageously. So we start living courageously. We start taking the risks, the calculated risks, right? When we're like, this is where I want to go. What do I want to start today? What is that one step, that one thing that I can do today to push past that comfort zone and live courageously? So I want you to put in the comments, I am courageous, right? We can do this. We have survived 100% of our most difficult days. So remembering that as you step into living courageously. The third belief and habit to start that is a game changer is being intentional with your time and who you spend it with, right? You want to make sure that, like, again, you're not people pleasing. You're actually creating space for people who are adding to your life. You are making space for the things that are adding to your life. It's about being intentional because we deserve that. And our life deserves that. So often we lead from obligation and we actually want to create this leading from inspiration. So I want you to put that in the comments, is from inspiration rather than obligation. We are dropping obligation. There are things that we still need to do. We do have obligations, but like, we want it to come from a place of inspiration, right? So being intentional with your time and who you spend it with, that is moving from obligation into inspiration. It's a feeling that we get when people and the things around us are adding to our life. The fourth belief and habit to start is to take up space, right? We are meant to take up space. So this could be your physical space. I've had women, I'm like, get up, get out of your chair, take up space, starfish your arms out, like take up the space that you're meant to, right? Physically take that up, emotionally take up the space, dream-wise take up the space, take up the space that you are meant to take. Too often we are taught to be small, you can see it in all of our mannerisms too. So interesting. If you want more information on that, check out Amy Cuddy. She does a TEDx about this, okay? The fifth belief and habit to start that is going to be a game changer is to strengthen your internal self-worth and self-love. Now, this is a lot about healing the past and embracing the present, right? So I know, ladies, and everybody that's watching us, I know it's like, why do I have to go back to the past? Go back to the past so that you can heal it. So it's not just a band-aid of like, I'm going to change my behavior. When you change the behavior without changing the belief, it's just a band-aid, right? We want something that is long lasting, that's healing, right? Healing that wound. So that is where we go in and I do a lot of inner child healing with the women that I work with so that they can really take everything to the next level and not have to keep on repeating these behaviors and these patterns. So strengthening that internal self-worth and self-love is key. That is a game changer. So which one are you going to start? Put it in the comments. Are you going to keep commitments? Are you going to live courageously? Are you going to be intentional with your time? Are you going to take up space? Are you going to focus on your self-love and your self-worth? All right, put it in the comments, make that commitment to yourself, declare it to be true. And that's what's going to totally shift you into this authentic living, right? Your most authentic life so that you can live in full alignment with your values, your vision, and your purpose. So I'm so excited that you spent this time here with me today on a topic that I feel so much passion about and have taken this journey both personally and professionally. So I'm so excited to be able to share this with you. If you're looking for more game changers, right, real paradigm shifts, be sure to join us. We have a money mindset course that I will be taking everybody through starting on February 5th. So it's 4 in-person sessions. It's 6 weeks of content where we're really digging into those belief systems that are keeping you small, keeping you held back. If you're ready to create financial flow in your life, in your business this year, you are going to want to be at this money mindset course. So you can find the link in the comments here and be sure to sign up. We start on February 5th and we are going to hit the ground running. We already have people signed up and we are on our way to this beautiful paradigm and energetic shift. So I can't wait to see you there. And as always, thank you. I'm honored that you spent this time with me today, and stay curious, stay compassionate, and always let your legacy